Welcome to this week's episode of Weekly with Retro. You may have did you see one last week? I don't know if they probably didn't see one last week. I don't know what
Mm.
someone's what's going on, but it's this week's edition of Film and Entertainment News. Where we talk the latest, and I am sylabdul, and this is always curated by Retro right here.
Yes, this is so much fun. And we have some new graphics I see, and it's so
Yeah,
cool and festive. I love
and,
it.
and like on the bottom right there, that's a little retro themed
Yes.
thing there. Just I'm waiting for somebody to point it out. But
Yeah, we like.
but definitely again, sometimes we need to liven up the screen and
Hmm.
everything, and definitely we'll have some lively conversation as well. And going into the weekend, this pretty interesting week for the box office.
Box office battle.
Yes, before we look to the future, let's look at the previous
Hmm.
weekend at the box office this past weekend, where Twisters debuted, the Universal film. It was like, maybe like 50 million, it's a nice little movie. And we like the story of these underdog films where this over exceeded 80 million domestically. It
Yeah,
crushed all expectations. It does have a $200 million budget, so they needed this. They
yeah.
needed to because we're going to look ahead here. But did you hear any chatter of this film? I got a chance to see it myself. I'll get my thoughts in a moment. But did you hear
Yeah,
any chatter with the film or word of mouth?
from word of mouth right now, there are a lot of people who um there are some people who like the action and just that it's a summer action movie, and they thought they were very entertained by it. On the
Mm-hmm.
more critical side, it doesn't like really stack up. One of the criticisms is that it had nothing to do with the original Twister movie,
Right.
the one with Bill Paxton, and so that is sort of the drawback. If there was sort of a connection between the two movies, maybe it would have been even more stronger as a
Mm-hmm.
narrative. So that was kind of the idea that people, that I've been hearing. Like people have been saying that. So there has been also a predictive kind of quality to it, but there is also a lot of excitement,
Mm-hmm.
simply because it is an action movie. It's action movie by the numbers, and yeah, that's pretty
Mm-hmm.
much it. But
Yep.
it's entertainment. That's what the masses of people want on the weekends, or when their spare time. They want to go out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and go see this movie. So this is great. Summer is in full gear. I mean, we're about fading into the last leg of some summer, and so we really needed this kind of a movie to help us out. That was for grown-ups, and,
Yeah.
I believe it is for everybody, but grown-ups will really like this more.
Right, right. No, for sure.
Yeah.
It seemed to have pretty good word of mouth with the cinema score at A minus, so that's really
Mhm,
good for
mhm.
word of mouth, opening weekend. People say, with this $80 million performance, you look at Glenn Powell. He was with Top Gun Maverick. He's
Mhm.
done some Netflix films. Now he is a star of this film, but also gotta give love to Daisy Edgar Jones. Is really kind of her story in this film,
Okay.
and Glenn Powell's character kind of just he finds his way into that story, but
Mhm.
um, but it's like a big three because you also have Anthony Ramos, who he starred in the Transformers: Rise of the Beast,
Yes.
uh, and I thought he'd be an up and coming star, but then he kind of leveled off. I mean, it's Hollywood for you, but
Yes.
he's pretty solid in this film as well. And then there's all the supporting characters. One super supporting character that everyone has their eyes on. David Cornsweet has a little role,
Oh,
supporting role in
really?
here,
Oh, okay.
and I will have to say, just since I'm predominantly a DC fan, right? Uh, we're keeping an eye on these DC people. Like, how is he really, right? And I
Yeah.
gotta tell you, the guy had good presence in the limited time that he had in this film.
Mhm.
I'm like, he kind of towers over everyone. So I was like, okay, he holds his own as presence wise. But it's about Glenn Powell, Daisy Edgar Jones' character,
Mhm.
and I think, like you said, it's about the tornado. The tornadoes, they're a character themselves in this film.
Mhm. Yes.
So they really kind of move the plot along, and then you have, again, Daisy's story. So uh, it's a good watch, popcorn film, as we say. Um, Universal's having a pretty solid year, so this is another, kind of slam dunk for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, for theaters overall, it's really good to see that film get a good win like this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Mm.
we started out pretty much the theaters just in like dire situation.
It's over.
Uh, yeah, yeah, it was terrible. And now they're doing okay. I don't think they made up the numbers from last year, but at least it's not going out terribly. It's not going down without a fight. And
Exactly.
yeah, these are great movies on this list here as far as like making good numbers. And
Mhm.
they're all tracking very well. Inside Out has just been going and going and going and going.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Inside Out. Came in last, third place this previous week. It's just became the highest grossing animated film
Oh wow.
ever. It passed Frozen. Um,
What?
and that's like, that was the king of animation for years,
Yeah.
a while. And so Inside Out 2, I guess it's that good. I haven't seen it yet. I'll probably catch it on Disney Plus
Hmm.
eventually or something. But the hype is real, and this is going for 1.5 billion likely with that. So I had kudos to them as well.
Yeah,
And
this is great.
little shout out to Despicable Me for not quite Inside Out 2 numbers, but it's about to hit 600 million
It's
for,
surprising
yeah.
me. And then again, that's another Universal film. I mean, Universal, you do your thing.
There you
Uh,
go.
yeah, yeah. And that completely surprised me. I didn't expect it at all.
Yeah. So good previous weekend for the box office. And again, shout out to Box Office Pro, giving these
Mhm.
lovely graphics online
Yeah,
for
that's
everyone
really
to steal. And we look forward to
it.
this week coming up. A
Okay.
little movie called Deadpool Wolverine, which last week had a projection of 160 million. It jumped. It jumped right before preview night. Um, it's all about this film this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, because right now all the reviews are just saying how much fun it is. There are some critics that are a little harsher on it, um, saying that their jokes are just there's just too many jokes, and so go. I would say if you were gonna go into this with the idea of like really just in sitting back and relaxing and enjoying it, all the crazy that's going to happen, and not really go there to like, okay, I want to make sure I get this intense narrative. No, that's not what this is about. That's
Yeah,
not what this is about.
this is pure. Well, first off, if a person has never seen a Deadpool movie, then it could
Hmm.
be probably some extra shock value because you're like,
Mm,
whoa, it's kind of
hmm.
out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah.
For casual viewers, I could see it could be a little mixed. But people that know this franchise has been successful, the two previous installments, now they're bringing Hugh Jackman and the MCU. I mean,
Hmm.
it's like they're bringing all this into Deadpool.
Yes, in a
It's a
rated
no
R
miss.
in a rated
Yeah,
R movie, and so
yeah.
they're not pulling any punches with this as far as like,
Mhm.
making it Disney, family friendly. This is legitimately like a rated R movie full of the violence and, all that stuff that you lewd comments, lots of lewd jokes. There were some
Mhm.
people that were like, "Oh, is this too many lewd jokes?" What did you expect? I mean,
Right.
you
I
you've
mean,
gotta
it's
understand.
Deadpool.
Yeah, this is Deadpool. You have a blue joke, and then you have 5 other blue jokes on top of that one. I mean, so
Uh,
it was built. That's what this was built on, and
mhm,
so I think you have to know what you're getting into, and I think a lot of people
mhm.
are ready for this.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
majority, I would
yeah,
say, retro. The majority knows what this is,
yeah.
and I think Marvel Studios they did a good job of saying like, hey, we're bringing Deadpool over here, guys. Like, get
Mhm.
ready.
Well,
So
see,
the
this
majority's
is
ready.
where they're gonna really do well is, of course, return viewers, like, people going back
Hmm.
to the theaters, like, "I gotta see this, like, 5 more times." One
Hmm.
extremely I won't say his name because he's really, really brutal, but one extremely brutal critic actually likes this movie, and I was like, "Wow, okay." Even the toughest critics have said that this is really good,
It's
and
a
this
soft
is
spot.
why the predictions, or the projections have jumped
Yeah.
because it's actually been getting a lot of positive responses. So, yeah,
Hmm.
this is exciting. I can't wait to I love seeing people excited about movies, and, this is definitely a great time. We need this. We need
Hmm.
this right now.
Yeah, this is huge, and for the international box office, or I guess global box office, I guess the best way to say
Mhm.
it. You have the number for this because right now it jumped domestically. Just that's just insane, and then overall, it's expected to get over 360 million for the first weekend
Wow.
overall globally. That's
Wow.
most films' entire run.
Wow!
It's gonna get that opening weekend.
We'll
Uh,
see, right? We'll see next week because that is gonna be crazy
that
if
is
that
crazy.
happens,
That is
which
crazy.
again, this is fantastic for the film industry and movie industry because they haven't been able to make this amount of money, this could be a very fruitful time for the film industry.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
haven't been able to really make this kind of money. So
I
this is
mean,
fantastic.
and we're talking about Avengers numbers. This
Mm,
is what this is threatening to do.
yeah.
Coincidentally, and I will say, by the time people watch this in the chat, uh, no spoilers, please. Like the internet is going crazy with spoilers for this
Mm,
film, and this is one film. All I will say with this is that if something does end up getting spoiled for you, just know it's like 20 other things that's coming that you're
yeah.
still going to be excited about. But do your best to if you want to be spoiler free, do your best because it's wild out there. But there's a lot
Yeah, there's
in this
some
film.
people that are just they've left, social
Yeah,
media. They're like,
yeah,
"Bye, see you in" "later, and I'll see you
yeah.
when the movie comes out," because they do not wanna get spoiled, and they're right, and even, these and understand trailers and, these, like, special trailers that are a little bit longer, they do give away too much in my opinion, but, look, this movie with all the trailers and all of the hoopla, which I do love the hoopla,
Mhm.
around the release with all of the special events that these guys have done to try to promote the movie. They're really putting a lot of money into the marketing, and it's all fun. It looks like it's a lot of fun. They've had so many panels, and then of course, we've got the popcorn buckets. It's just a lot of we need this. Keep saying that, but it's true. The world needs this kind of fun. That's what entertainment can take us away from our troubles for a few minutes and allow us to have some fun.
For sure. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to definitely to watch this. And after a few days, I mean I may do a spoiler video, but I'm gonna make sure it's marked spoilers. And
Yes.
then hopefully in a few days we all can have the open conversation of all the cool stuff that we're gonna see in this film. And like I said, that's gonna be fun. And this honorable mention coming up this week,
Mhm.
both the Universal films, Twister and Despicable Me 4 is projected to have less than a 50% drop. So
Ooh.
This is going to be a big weekend for theaters, overall, not just one film.
Hmm.
Um, Theaters over the performance
Yeah.
of everything is really at a good high right now.
Yeah. They're getting a nice boost.
Yeah, exactly. Good
Uh,
boost overall. So we shall
yeah.
see how these numbers look the following week. Um, Now, kind of looking ahead to, I guess, films that's on his way. It seemed like he was kind of excited about this film. I just felt in
Yes.
the message. I was like, the Colin Firth young Sherlock series at
Hmm.
Amazon. Colin Firth, right? Hear his name or see his picture, I immediately think of the Kingsman scene, right? But
Yeah.
you have here, as far as me personally, but what's what's the hype with this? Again, Amazon's doing some great moves. Side note, they got like the NBA contract, so they're getting more money in WNBA. And,
Yes.
they already got football. They got series and films. So this sounds like a big deal here, Retro.
Yeah, Guy Ritchie's actually involved in this, and I was trying to figure out if he was
Hmm.
directing or if he was just producing, but or
Yeah,
he
he's
may be
directing.
doing both. Yeah, and so that is exciting. Guy Ritchie, um, I think he's just one of those directors that has a lot of style.
Mhm.
So when you get to see his work, it's definitely going to leave an impression on you. One other thing too is I always love the movie Young Sherlock Holmes. I'm actually doing a watch party for it
Ooh.
this Saturday, and it's like it's one of those things where you've always wanted to see this incredible icon Sherlock Holmes as a boy or as a younger person becoming who he is going to eventually become and how they would structure a story around that and I love the way the movie did it where it was kind of already mature at that point in time and I'm like curious at how they're going to portray this in this series. So I'm so curious. And with Colin Firth joining, I wonder if he's going to play a bad person, like a villain.
Mhm.
But they're
I think,
they're keeping his character under lock.
yeah,
Uh,
correct.
and so yeah, that would be really great because he does play really good villains, but I mean, even if it doesn't matter what character he plays, he's just excellent, and I can't wait to see what they end up producing. It's just
Mhm.
very exciting because this is higher level thinking stuff, and this is discovering things, doing detective work, finding clues, and the beauty is that the audience gets to follow Sherlock Holmes on this sort of these little adventures. So I can't
Mhm.
wait. Yes, I can't
Yeah,
wait. Yeah.
and that's cool. The Guy Ritchie connection. If
Mhm.
people, they should know Guy Ritchie did those Sherlock films, right? Too, and
Mhm.
previously and recently, Ungentlemanly
Yes.
Warfare,
Yeah.
Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare,
Uh-huh.
worth a watch. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that's definitely worth a watch. And
Eh,
so he has that style that I think is gonna be
yes.
great.
And he also did Napoleon no, he did the movie for I can't remember, but
He got the Covenant. He has we mentioned the RDJ Sherlock Holmes film. Man from Uncle.
Man from Uncle. That's it, like
Yeah.
a spy thriller
Hmm.
kind of
With Cavill.
movie with Henry Cavill, and it
Hmm.
was so good. So,
Yeah.
like, things like that. He's so good in it. What I like about him also too is that, uh, there is an edge to his work that is like it's very masculine, but also it's very, there are very clean lines in the visuals,
Hmm.
and he pays attention to the details. There are like certain details he'll focus in on, and sometimes it feels like his work has a rhythm to it. I can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll be
Yeah,
keeping an
yeah.
eye. Like I said, Amazon is really its stock is going up as far as content and entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
People already know they already bought MGM a while ago, MGM Pictures. So they're gonna be doing some theatrical stuff as well as streaming. So looking forward to
I
what
am.
Amazon's gonna do
Yes,
out here.
I am. Yeah.
Doing their
This is
thing.
one
Doing
one of one of the projects that I noticed that I was like, "Yes."
their thing. Now shifting over,
Mhm.
we have a story here. Usually when we have topics involving The Rock and stuff, usually it's me that thinks of it. But retro in the few as well too. Now I want to say first, I mean, bonus points that this is a Dwayne Johnson article, but uh, on the other hand, this is probably one of the worst articles that I've read.
Ouch.
This is probably one of the worst articles that I read. As far as the
Ouch.
sheet says, the underrated 179 million Dwayne Johnson movie is what The Rock's career
Mhm,
needs more of. Okay, I mean, I guess that's a suspenseful tagline. They're talking about the
mhm.
other guys.
Yes.
Um,
Well, I
it-
brought this up, not because of the article, because I also disagreed with what they said a little bit in this article.
yeah.
I thought it was interesting that they took the angle that we were talking about a couple of weeks back, which was uh especially since he's doing those projects that you brought to
Mhm.
my attention, he needs to pursue like a different type of movie that than what he's been doing. And so it's that conversation. we, People people actually like The Rock, and how do you get The Rock back into show business without overexposing him, but allowing him to enjoy his celebrity and continue to reach new heights like he loves doing. So I think that was the kind of the scope of the this article in sort of like an underhanded way. Um, they suggested that he should go more towards comedy, and I
Yeah.
say that he should go to more towards drama, because drama is definitely like one of those areas he hasn't really fully explored to a great degree, and or that we are not, as the public, don't really know him for. So that would be something that he could work on, if there is anything that he can work on to
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
add to his portfolio is more dramas. But what I did like about what they said, they did mention smaller
Mhm.
productions, and smaller productions will allow him the freedom to work and not have the pressure of, oh, you didn't make $100 million,
Right.
that you
Right.
didn't
Right.
it didn't make $1 billion at the box office. Well, maybe you're not that great anymore. And so, like, he could, make a 30 million dollar movie and still like have his dignity with doing, not only just doing a job, but also maybe, like you were talking about before, Oscars,
Mhm.
could
Right.
be,
I know.
or any of the other, institutions that provide awards. And that all matters, because once you become award winning, it sort of gives you a standing. Okay, now you can book your next gig on that ledge. Sometimes it's not on a
Mhm.
100% theory, but it is definitely something for him to take a look at, if if
Right.
it feels like, if there's something missing from his repertoire, because he's insanely successful, right?
Right.
He doesn't need advice from anybody, but he's insanely successful. But from the outside looking in, I would say that, that would be the black hole, or the area in which I think he easily um,
Mhm.
do, because the acting chops are there. It's just the
Oh, for sure.
opportunity. Yeah, the opportunity and the actual projects that he needs to work on.
Yeah, and definitely with this article again, any criticism I have, it's the writer of the article, not that Retro chose this article. It's that their argument kind of I thought they were starting off in a certain way, and then it was just like, okay, I agree with what me and Retro was talking about as far as The Rock tried more films like we talk about the Smashing Machine through A24. That's gonna be Oscar bait, that type of film. Red One with Amazon, that's more of the action comedy, which again
Yeah,
he just does those in his sleep at this point. And
yeah,
I think that was
pretty
like a
much.
fun,
Yeah,
it was like a fun film too.
yeah,
People
yeah,
really like that.
yeah.
So the article, like you said, it took a weird path where it's like, yeah, he's doing the Smashing Machine, which is a dramatic film, like a autobiography type
hmm
thing.
hmm
And again, it's going to be more in line with his dramatic roles in the past. I always bring up 2013 Snitch, the film he did where he has to save his son.
hmm
Um, and it's like a real dramatic film. One
hmm
of his best acting roles showed that range. Films like that, like The Smashing Machine, I
Yeah.
thought it was the direction they were going to go. It was like, no, he should do more comedies and smaller roles. And it's like, now I can see him doing smaller
Yeah.
roles in dramatic films
In dramatic
and,
films, yeah.
and low
Yeah.
budget, and give it a punch. Then I would kind of agree with what
But
this article said.
yeah, and I totally and the reason why I pointed out this article was because I think that everybody is thinking about that that you know The Rock has so much success. He's very successful. What would be the one thing to round out his career? Would be like more successes with certain films. Like I said, I don't agree exactly where they're going, but I think that the dramas is where he would really like,
Mhm.
you know,
I
do
agree.
and I think The Rock will be okay no matter what. I mean, he's got a lot of money, he's got a lot of success, he's already worked for, and on top of that, he's still gonna work on something. He's the kind of person that just keeps working. I don't do you see him retiring?
Oh
And
my goodness.
no, no,
Well, one thing this article reminds us of is the new first look deal that The Rock and $7 has exclusively with Disney. It's a
Mm,
huge contract, right? Huge. They're going to be it's a production deal, so they're going to be developing all kinds of projects, streaming films, shorts, whatever series
yeah, I
for
mean,
this.
that
Yeah.
is a luxury most actors and actresses don't get a chance to do. They
Mhm.
not with Disney. No, they don't. And especially in the climate that we have today, uh, this is definitely a very unique position for him. I can't wait to see what he does with that, if he's gonna make personal projects or
Mhm.
if he's going to do, some things like what he's doing with Amazon or, like, just,
Mhm.
just to see what he
Yeah.
decides he's gonna do. It's very fascinating. I think he's a fascinating person. I'm not the kind of fan you are, and not quite as like crazy for him as you are. But I think he's just like I think he is fascinating, and I
Oh,
want
you
to
said it.
see,
You said
yeah, I
it.
want to see where he's going, in the
Well,
future because again, he's incredibly talented. He could do anything, and he's the kind of guy that you wanna keep your eye on
yeah.
because he's gonna he's always gonna be doing something. He's not gonna be
Yeah.
he's gonna be like
I
80 and
think
he's gonna be still like
I think he really has a chance to kind of top off his legacy with this
Mm,
production deal. And
yes.
if you think of it, we kind of have an idea of what The Rock wants to do as far as his team overall. They had that
Mm,
sitcom Young Rock a couple
yeah.
years ago,
Mhm,
which I thought was just a different take. So you can get a sitcom on ABC now through Disney if he wants to
mhm.
do something like that. Obviously, streaming, Disney Plus, original ideas. Because right now, this isn't about The Rock saying, "Oh, I want to take on the DC franchise or Marvel." He's like, no, I don't have to be any of it. I can make original ideas. I obviously get paid more to do
Hmm.
original ideas as well in films, and then get into more producing, bringing in new talent, that you produce. So I mean, this can go all across the board as
Yes.
far as what The Rock does.
Mhm.
Animated films like Maui, Mona, I should say. That's
Yes.
coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming out, and part two's coming out. So, and he has a live action version of that that they're going to film as well. So he's going to be pretty busy, yeah, for the rest of this decade at least. And then maybe more of a producer mogul, at that point. So,
Yeah, yeah. And if he does have a first look deal, like any show that they've got going on, he could just pop up and
mhm.
be the general for some.
Yeah,
He's just that's a great thing for him to be able to do. I mean, you never know, he might show up in a Star Wars
right.
movie.
If you want those small cameos, he just show up real quick. You
Don't
know,
do it. Make them put you under makeup and or in a
yeah,
you
like a
know.
mocap or something. Well, it's The Rock, so
Yeah,
he's gonna want you to see his face. So
I
that's just
know.
what it is. But
I
but
know.
definitely some good ideas that we have. I don't know about this article, but me and you have some pretty good ideas.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
with,
yeah, and I do understand where the you know that there's something going. The wheels are turning in the same direction. They're just like going off, and it's like, oh no, 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 come
they just
back.
they just went off the road. They just went like
Yeah,
no
but
barriers.
it is a good their thought pattern was in the same directions that ours was, which was
Mm.
like, yeah, we think that he could really benefit from more of these dramatic or smaller projects, the
Smaller
smaller
project.
projects, yeah.
Well, yeah,
And we veered more towards the dramatic,
right.
which I think he would just be fantastic for.
For sure, for sure. So we keep an eye, of course, on his career. And who knows the next story that Retro will bring up
Yeah.
about The Rock and Seven Plus. We'll see.
The
We
Rock,
will see.
we're looking at you, The Rock.
Hey, yeah, y'all's got your eye, y'all's got
Yeah.
our eyes on. He knows this. They know this. But so with that, a little shift
Mhm.
to a little Marvel news. So
Oh,
we
yeah, yeah.
always hit Marvel. Well, sometimes we hit Marvel, but
Mhm.
preferably Blade, the Blade reboot. Kevin Feige's
Yes.
been going on this tour, setting up Deadpool, Wolverine. He can't stop smiling about that Deadpool film, and then uh, bringing
Yeah,
in X-Men. But Blade has been a question that a lot of people are asking, saying, "Hey, you got Mahershala Ali, Oscar, level talent
yeah,
winner."
yeah.
Uh, he says, "I want to make this Blade film," and 5 years later, we still don't have a script, or it's not even like done. Or, um, like he says, the most important thing is not rushing it. He says after 2 years trying to crack that movie. No, you announced this in 2019, Mikey. I saw it. We all saw it. And he said teasing the R rating. I think the first problem they probably have, retro,
Mhm,
is,
mhm,
you know, yes, Mahershala Ali is a talent. I don't know as far as behind the camera
mhm.
how much he flexes, because Wesley Snipes, Mr. Wesley Snipes, he would have had this film done 4 times over in
Oh,
five
yeah.
years.
Oh, yeah.
So what did you think of just these remarks of Feige, and like, man, I guess the Blade reboot's still happening?
So, I really don't wanna sound like a like a mean person. But this is really, something that could've you don't need 5 years to come up with a script. And we are probably going to get the story of our lives when we hear about what happened, really happened behind the scenes, because there were so many people attached and have left. And maybe they're all under, specific clauses not to speak right now. But and I'm glad that they are, because then it would ruin it for seeing the movie. But it sounds terrible. Like whatever is going on behind the scenes just sounds awful. Get it together. Get it
Yeah,
together.
this
Um,
is. Mhm.
yeah, this is the like, can you just like you and I could right now come up with at least 7 incredible scenes that Blade could encounter
Mhm.
and and have it in a with some tailoring, put it into a story format right now.
Yeah. Oh,
And
easy.
easy, right? Because we've already seen how it's supposed to be done very well from
Mhm.
the earlier movies. They were actually really good. They were like the first Blade Runner for me. I'm sorry, not Blade Runner. The
Mhm.
first Blade movie for me
Yeah.
was incredible.
Oh, for sure.
Uh, it was fantastic. It couldn't have been more of putting the comic book into life than anything. It was just like, wow, they really did do it. And Wesley Snipes, I don't know how much, he had to do with it, but he just embodied that character and
Uh,
he made it iconic.
yeah, for sure.
And from, of course, the movies, of course, people went and, bought more comic books. They learned about it. Some people who didn't know about it
Mm.
and exposed it more. So it's like sort of like become this big thing now. And we all know, like everybody knows how to make a Blade film. Like ask anyone, would you expect to see in a Blade film? Well, we expect to have like a vampire underground, right? We expect to have Blade fight with a sword. How many scenes would you have Blade? Like maybe 4 or 5 scenes, maybe 7 good scenes, maybe a couple of the scenes without the sword.
Mhm. Right, right, yeah. Some
Right?
hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah,
Wesley
yeah,
Snipes was good with that. Definitely a sword.
yeah.
More towards the end because it's more better effect.
Since
Um,
it's a Marvel movie, we could have a sky beam from the sky.
it could beam down vampires. He just sliced through a hole. But I mean, just Blade fighting vampires. That is Blade, and
Yes,
like
yes,
you said, Wesley Snipes put this character literally on the map. Now, I'm one of those people, Retro, when this film first came out.
yeah.
I mean, first, I was younger, so it was like, oh, am I supposed to see this film? But it's like, but it's like,
Yeah.
but it's like, I didn't know about Blade, right? So Wesley Snipes literally introduced
Oh,
me
yeah,
to this
to
film.
so many people.
Yeah, so it's 2008. This film came out. So this is after the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. All the wholesome stuff. Right before that's 1998. What did I say? I said 2008. 1998. So that's after Sam Raimi. Right before 2000 X-Men.
Okay.
That's where Blade is at. Like, it's just an amazing part of history right there,
Mhm.
and it introduced, like I said, just everyone, to this type of films that you can do. You know,
Yeah.
and so, like you said, the movie when it starts off with, you got the party with the vampires and the blood's coming down. Perfect, perfect. This is perfect. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
vampire rave. You gotta have at least one of those in the movie,
Yeah, yeah. So it writes
right?
itself.
Vampire rave, okay?
Very easy.
Big vampire
so,
bad guy.
so
One
what do
you just need one. Well, I think they're going for a female one maybe. I don't know. You could do
um,
male, female, it doesn't matter. Just bad guy. You need at least 2 really good hench people. Um, right? So you get one hench person, that one person that's really good that Blade has to face off with, right? And then you get the secondary one, probably annoying, but he
right,
gets
right,
to
right.
first, and then a whole bunch of vampire hench, little fodder for him to
Yep.
chop up into pieces.
Mhm.
And uh, are we doing like it depends because and who is in the story on Blade's side? Like does he have a sidekick? Does he
Mhm,
have like people he's working with, humans that he's working with,
mhm.
humans that are, are scientists that are trying to help him, or what's going on? We can build this thing
Yeah, it
in
can't
5 minutes.
be.
We can work on this together.
It
We
can't.
get
It
the
can't be this
nerds
complicated.
together in a room, okay?
So, so the latest I heard with this production is that supposedly they have the frame of the story that they want. Like after 5 years, they finally
Good.
said we have a frame, but they didn't like the writer or something. Something like, wait a minute. So you like the story, but not the writer personally? I don't know.
Wow.
So they have like a script doctor to come in and kind of, fix up the story, but don't, keep
Yeah.
the skeleton of the story. And so we'll see, how it comes about. I mean, at the end of the day, it should be just Blade fighting vampires. And then on top of that, they do want to connect it to a potentially a future Midnight Suns project, which will have Ghost Rider and other,
Yeah, I mean, I think they should just slow their roll and just do do like a one-off movie with Blade in it and see, take it from there. That's the whole problem is like, oh, we've got to link it to this and to this and this and that
Mhm,
and the other. Yeah, that's nice to put in some Easter eggs, but make sure you make a movie that people can understand
mhm,
because you're not going to get another chance.
yep,
And this is the problem with Disney is MCU is that everything's connected to everything, and yet it's not none of it's making any sense on its own. And
mhm,
that's a problem narratively. People like to go in to see a movie that feels like it's actually its own thing. Like you're not like they're not subscribing to watch every single movie. They just want to see one good movie that satisfies them when they walk out the theater. And they were able to do this and I have to question whether it was really them doing it or if it was just because the whole Iron Man, all those movies, they were all done with Paramount. And so I'm like, well, maybe it's not Disney that had the magic. So I mean, all
mhm,
this time, I was like, oh, it's Disney's magic. They're doing that magic. They weren't doing the magic. And so something is broken in that system that they've created sort of uh like a machine, and they need to get in them. Maybe they need to switch out the machine for something else, or they need to go in and rebuild a brand new machine because right now it's broken. It's broken.
mhm,
And this, Wolverine Deadpool movie is breathing a lot of new life into it. And I believe that's because of Ryan Reynolds. He's been really the one pushing this forward.
mhm.
Not so much, the whole Disney thing. So I'm wondering if after this movie, will they be able to continue any good success that may come from it? You know.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
So
That is the question. That is the question for Feige and the crew. And again, this is a simple film, so it does make me worry. What are we really gonna get?
yeah.
Once they get this film out. So
Well, also with Blade, the date of release is still slated for November 7th, 2025. And
no
I'm
way,
like, what is
no
go?
way,
You guys are sick.
no way. I mean, with Mahershala Ali, the last time they, I guess, got rid of the writer or whatever they did for the
Yeah.
last couple of months, he took another job with uh, Jurassic World, the
Mm,
subtitle Rebirth. Now, kind of like that Jurassic World Rebirth. Um, that's already in production, and that's slated to come out July 2025. So
wow.
that's going to make us release.
Okay. Yeah.
Blade is still no hints of when they're going to start production. So no way this comes
That's
out
messed up.
next year.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you have people leave the project and already like have
Mhm.
I don't get it. I don't get this. I don't understand. That's why I feel like it deserves conversation
Mhm.
because it baffles my mind at this point. And we should talk about it. And I'm still also too curious as to in the many years to come, we'll probably eventually know what is going on behind the scenes because something is going on.
Something sinister is going
Something is
on.
happening. Something is happening, and it's
Yeah.
crazy because it makes you just scratch your head. What are you guys doing over there? I mean, even Wesley Snipes was trolling them because it was just so bad. It
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like,
It
yeah,
was like
whatever.
he was like, is it that hard, to make a blade film? Like it's funny.
Wait, he
That's
shows
funny.
up in costume. He has a blade in his hand. He kills a few people. Yeah, that's Blade.
What happens now?
Mm,
Our
mm.
final topic is a company that's not in better shape than this Blade situation. Warner Brothers discovers,
Oh my
according,
god.
according to Bank of America analysts, money people, they're saying WBD is not working and they should
Oh
explore
my god.
strategic options. Wall Street pros are speculating this as well that Zaslav needs to spend something out of this. There was another quote floating around says if they don't make some drastic move this year, uh, they're done. Their stock is done. This experiment isn't working. Retro some crazy stuff out there. Can't say we're not surprised, but what do you think with these quotes?
So this is very part of me I have so many different feelings. Part of me I feel mad, I feel misled, I feel um as if I feel misled, and I'll tell you why. Because remember when Zaslav came to power, basically, and he talked about all the things that he's planning on doing. He had synergies. Um, he was going to focus on certain things. Um, to date, he has not actually produced any of those promises. And sure, there are some things in the works for the future, and that might be interesting, but anything that like especially when it comes to um, DC in particular, one of the things that he mentioned was that he was going to concentrate on the Trinity. And the first thing that the one I wouldn't say the first thing that he did, well, what eventually happened in the first year of him and being in power is that all of the Trinity was fired. Like he had the Trinity and he fired all those guys, which is debatable because people are like, they weren't fired. We just went in a different direction. Same thing. Stop
Yeah.
peeing on me and telling me that it's raining. Just be honest. This is gaslighting at this point. And then all of this talk like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. There has really not been anything done. They took movies that were already in production or practically done and messed them up on purpose. Then they took other movies and they did tax write-offs for many of these movies. That's horrible.
You're talking about Batgirl and the
Yes.
Acme versus Roadrunner, something like that. Acme, yeah, something like that. Coyote versus
Those,
Acme. That's what.
those are assets with limitless uh, bounty, if you will. You're not going to get back your money tomorrow, but over time, because it is a property that people will probably be interested in for like 10, 20, 30 years down the line, you're destroying it, absolutely taking it out of the zeitgeist and putting it in the garbage just for a tax write-off of a finite amount of money.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like taking a piece of art, like taking the Monet right after it was freshly painted and putting it in the garbage.
I mean, not a lot of popular decisions from Zaslav. Now, what he would try to hang his hat on is that, hey, we had like 50 billion in debt. Now we're at 39 billion. That's great. What these money people are saying is
Mm-mm.
overall the company is trash, right? But
Yes.
they're saying there are parts in this company that
Mm.
you can't deny. Warner Brothers Films is
Yeah.
always going to make money because of
Oh,
the relationships it has with Legendary, and then um, Warner Brothers distributes internationally Universal Films. So just
mm-hmm.
so people are clear with that, like Universal came out with Twisters,
Mm-hmm.
great domestically, they got a lot of money with that. Internationally, Universal couldn't just go in different territories or be distributed without Warner Brothers' help. So Warner
Yes.
Brothers gets
Yes.
percentages off these other studios.
Mm-hmm.
So that business is going to always work. Warner Brothers, if they get sold and bought 5 times over, um, Warner Brothers Pictures is always going to stand. But
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
you have the streaming. How healthy really is that? So there's some unhealthy parts of the company that's strong.
This.
This company is uneven. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just. It's just been mishandled, and at this point, I hate to say this, but and they're talking about selling assets, which they're going to
Yeah,
need to do for
yeah.
sure. Uh, and they were, and I think the idea might have been put together a little package so that way they can be available for sale.
Mhm.
But you know, at this point, the cat's out of the bag. We all know that this is that you're having you're hemorrhaging and the sharks are in the water. That's what it is, because this is a good example of just like them pretending that they have everything together on the other. Yeah, we have everything together. All of the meetings that we've all listened to, they're all like full of BS, full
Mhm.
of BS, because they have not been able to actually do to make a profit on their company. All of this is going towards like paying off who they have. They have another round of layoffs again.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it was so funny because some people didn't even know that there were layoffs until after the article that came out that said, "Hey, there are going to be 1,000 people laid off today."
It's rough, right? And
What?
with this company, because this is a conglomerate, because they have a gaming studio,
Hmm.
they got comic books over here. It's all over the place.
Mhm.
What Warner Bros. Discovery is, and so what me and you we've been talking about this since we started doing these weekly shows. Retro is that, hey, Warner Brothers positioned themselves to sell, right? Comcast, NBC, Universal to like and sell, or they may partner with Paramount. You see, Paramount got out of that business fast. Paramount sold to Skydance.
Yes.
That's like the rescue lifeboat for them. They just got
Mhm.
to figure out the logistics. But so Paramount's off the table. So it's like Warner Bros. Either you figure it out or you have to sell. Maybe no one wants to buy all this. Maybe
They're
that's what
gonna have to
people.
split it up. Yeah.
So it's about splitting it up, right? And
Yeah.
and if they do decide to split it up again, it will be the film and streaming one company. They'll remain Warner Brothers, whatever you want to call
Mhm.
Max or whatever that thing is. And then their linear TV, cable, all the rest of their entertainment stuff, where it's an archaic, archaic cable TV at this point.
Yeah.
At the time of this recording, Retro, we talked about how Amazon got NBA. They got it because Warner Bros. Discovery lost the rights. They couldn't afford it anymore. So Amazon
Mm.
came in and bought the NBA rights, and
Mm.
more money for Amazon. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a dying company. It's
Yeah.
many parts of Warner Bros. So
Mhm.
if they split, they probably won't sell. It'll just be more of a creative accounting, and they're just going to try to ride this out. But what does that mean if they split? Again, more lost jobs, synergies as they call it. Um, these are
Mhm.
some tough decisions they're going to have to go through. And stories like this, Retro, I think why this is coming out is because more and more likely these other companies, they don't want to buy Warner Bros. Discovery. They're like, you just got to figure this
Mm,
out yourself.
yeah, yeah. Because it's really, and it's very important for us to follow this, and the reason why is because Warner Brothers, for the many years that it's been in business, have had many of the incredible properties, incredible IPs. They've bought in, like, um, TC is it TCM is under them right now,
Yep.
and that is very relevant to continuing the appreciation of movies on a historical preservation angle of it. Just so that we have that, just so we have that. There's so many other channels and little networks that they have, but it is really uh it's sort of the ending of an era almost, where you
Mhm.
thought that these companies were invincible at one. These were big companies that you could, "Oh, you're working for Warner Brothers. Wow." And it held a lot of weight. And now, if you say you're working for Warner Brothers, do you have a job tomorrow? Like, you
Exactly.
know, it's,
Exactly.
and then also too, and they've gotten better. I think, like Warner Brothers film right now is being handled quite well. Um,
Hmm.
I really do feel like they've been handling things well over there in the as far as how they're treating their filmmakers. Prior, though, from the prior regime, unfortunately, they made some really terrible decisions that even they lost Christopher Nolan. They lost Christopher
Yep.
Nolan, and that speaks a lot. I mean, on several occasions, we had movie veterans actually going to Zaslav and saying, "Stop what you're doing." You're destroying films, and you're killing cinema forever. And
Mhm.
more than once, they had to talk to him about this stuff. Um, and the most deplorable was, I think, to me, and was it worth it that that they took those movies and did a tax write-off for those movies. I'm sorry, that is the worst offense that they've made, was though that right there was doing was taking those movies and doing a tax write-off for them. For It started with Batgirl, and I think a lot of people did not want to see Batgirl, that Batgirl movie, but I'm in the party of believing that if you are creative and you want to make a movie and you've embarked upon making that movie, that it shouldn't, it shouldn't be taken away from you. And so even though it wouldn't have been like a movie I was going to jump to go see, and maybe we all had problems with that movie, what they did to that movie made it very easy for them to go and do that to other movies. Like, okay,
Mhm.
so we'll go ahead and,
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and write this off, since we
Yep.
don't have too much protest. We thought we were gonna get protests, but not that much. But
No.
and then they put out those photos about Batgirl, and I'm wondering if that was just plain
Mm,
propaganda.
probably. Probably.
And
Because yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because that was very interesting. All of a sudden, we've got these pictures out, and they're showing the movie when it wasn't even, didn't have any post-production on it at all. Well, that's pretty, it's gonna be an awful movie. It's like the equivalent of, like, watching a low budget movie, micro movie, where there's, like, you know, there's a lot of dead airspace, and there's like no ADR, you know, no music to assist you, no lighting, no special effects.
Mhm.
As we can see from the photo sets from a lot of movies that are being released today, how some of the photos aren't that great, but we know that they're going to go in with special effects to tighten things up, you know. So that is something that I'm wondering very much about Batgirl, which
Hmm.
I'm gonna need a full documentary on that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need
Well,
a full documentary on what happened to Batgirl. And gosh, those guys, you know, why didn't they back up their work? Because,
no.
you know, thank goodness Zack Snyder backed up his work.
Mhm.
They should
Mhm.
have backed up their work, and that is, you know, that is something for all filmmakers. Back up your work, because you know it could be taken away from you.
Mhm. That's rough. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's crazy that you would feel like creators would have to do that, but it's just that relationship with these film studios, mostly Warner Brothers.
Hmm.
It's a very one-sided relationship, and so um, you have to think around that time with that Coyote versus Acme, as we mentioned, that's another text written off
Yes.
film. Um, a lot of Hollywood directors was like, "Hey, I'm kind of second guessing even going into business with Warner Brothers because like I could spend 2 years making this project,
Yes.
in film and post,
Uh-huh.
and you just shelve it. Like, yeah, I got paid for it, but you make this stuff, you put your time in it so people can see, the work,
Yeah.
and so that's unfortunate, and that's a legacy that Zaslav has kind of created for himself in a short time. Really, he's only been
Yeah.
there for 2 years, and right now, if they do this spinoff thing again, the scenario where it's film and streaming here, and like your cable TV,
Hmm.
CNN,
Hmm.
all this other stuff will go over there. Now again, that would bring into question, like, okay, if you spin this off and you sell some of this stuff, do you sell DC? Like, is that something you really would consider? I mean, it's so unstable right now. That's the crazy thing
Oh,
with this.
you
Like,
mean
this feels
sell
like
the
going,
entire
yeah,
DC films?
yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. I mean, if that's something, if they do this split, now my point though is
Netflix is right
anything,
over there.
anything can happen, right? If they are splitting and spinning stuff off, anything can happen. And to
Yes.
be fair, with Warner Brothers, as successful as that film studio is, they don't need DC. You know, I'm just saying they don't need.
They
They can
don't.
sell. You know,
They don't need it. I mean, it could. I don't know if they can walk away from it though, because
I don't think they
it
sell it. I'm just throwing something.
it
I mean, I
has
don't think
the
they sell it.
yeah, because it has the benefit of the possibility of making billions, right? And so
Yeah.
they cannot let that go. It's like, um
Well, IPs, and that's the thing with IPs. That's something really hard to sell from under because
mhm,
the potential. You always have that
yeah,
potential
the potential.
and licensing and things like that. So
Mhm,
when they're talking about spinning up, they're talking about just the companies themselves. And Warner Brothers owns DC. They don't have
mhm,
to sell DC, but
yeah.
um,
They
they
could, I
definitely have
mean,
to do
they could,
something.
I mean, they could do that, for, like, a
I think they got them.
ridiculous, yeah, I mean, like, hey, if somebody said, "Hey, look, we'll get rid of all of your debt and we'll take DC," they're like, that might be, like, 39 billion? Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, hey, we give you a check for 40 billion. Just give us DC and like a couple of these other companies. It's
yeah,
like, hey, I mean, I think in the article it says CNN alone is worth 6 billion. So I know DC's worth more than CNN. I don't
mm,
know it is. So that's just like something to kind of gauge by. Um, I think MGM was worth 8 billion. So you get an idea of these numbers. DC is worth exponentially more because of it's an IP,
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
brand, it's a license. You can make billions of dollars
Oh, yeah,
each year.
Yeah.
right?
Yearly, yearly. Yeah.
DC. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Definitely, definitely. And I I think this is all very fascinating. And the thing that the reason why I expressed feelings of feeling angry was like having so much hope in the idea like, oh, these guys are going to straighten things up,
Mhm,
that they're going to fix all of the mess. And they didn't. They just really created a bigger mess, but also they did pay off like some of the debt, but
mhm,
there's it seems like it's even more like messed up than it.
mhm.
I mean, like a huge mess.
It's like
Um,
the long term. I think what these money people are looking at, like, okay, yeah, they paid down the debt. Like I said, it's down to 39
mhm,
billion.
mhm,
So now we're starting in the 50s. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, you made some hell, but it's like long term. I wish you do this chip away thing for the next couple of years. Like, when are you going to grow again? And
yeah.
that's what Zaslav has
Investors
to answer.
are yeah, and then investors are tired of being lied to. They
Mhm,
really are.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
look, I believe that they could have handled the whole situation with the DC movies that they had in their pocket when he got started a lot better than they did.
Yeah.
Those movies seem to be specifically targeted to fail. And instead of creating and I don't know, maybe it was he thought that he was doing the right thing, or he thought that they were enhancing the movies. And it's like, why don't you let the directors handle that instead
Mhm,
of committees coming in to say, hey, change this, change that, change that.
yeah.
And those guys have absolutely no responsibility. The only person that have responsibility for that is the director and studio as a whole. So
Mm,
James Wan is an incredibly talented person. For him to like, endure a lot of the stuff that he did for his movie was just like,
mhm.
what a
For
way.
both
And
of
like,
them.
I bet it must be so embarrassing and humiliating, demoralizing to to actually like direct a film and then have these other people come in and say, okay, well, we're going to reshoot like half of all of these things, and
Mhm,
we're going to change this whole plot point right here. We're going to remove all of this, and we're going to make it a little bit more funnier, and we're going to do this thing here. Like, it's got to be just so insulting. And you might just want to quit the business. You might you
mhm.
might just want to quit the business.
Like, for real though, I mean,
You're like,
that's it.
oh my god, like how much they changed. Some of those movies, Aquaman, The Flash,
Mhm,
Muschietti's movie. I mean that movie was changed so much. There was so many reshoots, and that was uncalled for. And how they completely abandoned Black Adam.
mhm.
That was another one. It received almost no support, very little marketing. The Rock mostly did all of his marketing, um, and just like part of the support for that movie was like continue on with the story.
Yeah, I
But
mean, it's like you said, the way they handled just the DC slate alone,
mhm.
it deflated a lot, and the
Well,
meddling, things like that. Yeah.
it also was very much like, okay, why should we go see this movie when it, they've just hired a new DC person and they're going
Mhm.
to do their own thing anyway.
Yeah, so like these films don't matter, and like with theaters trying to recover, after COVID, it's like people do want to go to films that matter. You don't want to have that stigma. Yeah, this is just they're building a new universe like right back here. Like you got. You gotta see this. You know what I mean? And that's how it was received.
But how long has it been? It's been about 3 years now. 3 years now.
Gunn was hired 2 years ago.
Okay, so Zaslav has been here for 3 years. Yeah. So
This
it's
is
been 3 years.
spring of
That's
as of spring of 2022, and
yeah.
Gunn hired fall of 2022.
And so if I was one of the investors, I would be like, this we should have seen some results, you know. And like I said, Barbie, I may have said this like a long time ago. Barbie was almost like an accident that just fell into their lap.
It's just a phenomenon. They had nothing to do with Zaslav, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it was just like, oh yeah, this incredible movie, and it was perfect. It was the perfect thing to put Warner Brothers back on the map again. Uh, but
Mhm.
it just ah,
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, that's that's Greta, that's Greta Gerwig, that's Margot Robbie, that's what Barbie was.
yeah, yeah,
Dune, that's Denny V and
yeah,
Legendary.
yeah,
You know, these are the films that's winning. If Beetlejuice does well, that's Tim Burton. That's not Zaslav
yeah.
doing that, or Joker. That's Todd Phillips. So a lot of stuff has nothing to do with Zaslav, and
Mm-mm.
that's what he has to like really realize. Like, just go with what really works. Yeah, when we talk about with DC, I mean, he came in a year after the Snyder Cut came out. Let's do another one. Like, what do we like? What do we know what works here? Like,
Yeah,
you know, but
people were asking for it.
you're starting this clock back over, and like you said, 2 years later, this film, the Superman film, James Gunn, it better be a hit. It
Well,
better be
well,
undoubtedly a hit.
look, he promised. I can't get over this. He promised the Trinity. I
Yeah.
remembered. He promised
Mhm.
the Trinity, and then and what that was like April of 2022,
Oh,
23,
2022, yeah,
21,
yeah. The
22.
springtime of 2022, that he was talking up, yeah, a storm
He
about.
promised that,
Mhm.
and he already had the three characters in place. Like they were still working
Yeah.
or in the at least in talks,
Mhm.
if anything.
Well, they were still developing Gal Gadot's third film,
Yeah, yeah.
Cavill's second Man of Steel. Ben was going to be popping up everywhere. So he just totally 180. That's what Zaslav did. He totally 180, because of, yes, of the extra debt that he discovered Warner Media left him. But still, I mean, no one's feeling sorry for you, Zaslav. So you probably
Oh,
just should have just delivered on what you were promising.
promised. Yeah, he should have delivered on what he promised, and they were already in place. And so all you had to do was just say yes to the projects that were going on with them, and hey, move on. You did fulfill that promise. And then after that, it was sort of like, yeah, I'm still gonna give you that, but now we're gonna shift and we're gonna do this other thing.
Right, right. Finish out
Um,
that last ride. That's what DeLuca and Abdi wanted to do. Head of
mhm,
Warner Brothers.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's disappointing because he came in with there was so much promise for him, and we got a whole group of movies that were, Frankenstein, and then we're still waiting for movies to come out next year. So,
Still waiting. Yeah, and I know it'll be some random comments anytime we talk about Warner Brothers, uh, potentially selling or not selling. It's like, hey, did sylabdul, didn't you say they were going to sell for the last 2 or 3 years? That's been the plan the entire time. And actually, it's
oh,
been confirmed. It's been
yeah,
confirmed that Comcast, they did have talks with Comcast. That's out
mm,
there.
mhm.
Business journals are talking about that. What we're seeing now, what I think is happening is that Comcast is like, nah, this ain't really worth buying. So now you're talking about splitting up the company and doing weird stuff. So what I've learned, and just with my content, things change. Things change, people, and
Mm, 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 mm.
that's what we're seeing. That Warner
Mhm.
Brothers, these companies are wising up. They don't want to just buy into debt.
Yeah.
And Warner Bros. is just not viable as is right now. Warner Bros. Discovery overall. And so now Zaza, for his own legacy, he needs to kind of remix some stuff here, maybe sell pieces here and there, because it looks like no one wants to buy them.
Yeah,
That's where we're
remix.
at now.
Yeah, remix. Like
Remix.
like a little package, like here's here's a little bundle here, you
Yeah,
buy this. Because
yeah, yeah,
it's really catastrophic. And again, we're seeing that with the layoffs. The layoffs
yep,
is a key indication that this place is hemorrhaging money, and they're
yep,
trying to like figure out how to, keep everything together. And
yeah, yeah.
mm,
So
well,
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
tough out there.
something to keep our eyes on is like how things are going with them. And Bank America outed them.
Yeah, yeah. They really, yeah. This money people, they don't play around, man,
They're like,
on
yeah.
Wall Street. And just a good comparison, because as we wind this down, we could talk about Warner Brothers all day, all night.
I know
Uh, but but
that's a
we have that.
4-hour conversation right there.
We got Warner Bros. With a $40 billion debt
Hmm.
compared to Paramount, which is only 15 billion. That's why Paramount was easily sold, or they was going to
Mm,
merge with people. Um, that's how far Warner Bros. Is behind. Now, yes, sometimes they use debt. Like sometimes you could use debt to your advantage, borrow more money, stuff like that. But just when the money people are saying no, this isn't a good look anymore. That's Bank of America and people like
yeah,
that, Goldman
yeah.
Sachs. That's when you know it's a problem.
It's
Uh,
yeah,
big
yeah,
time.
yeah. Because
Yeah,
they really, I mean, they actually like poured poison on them, almost, because they kind of put the word out there like,
yeah,
hey, all you guys who are thinking about buying stuff,
yeah.
just watch it,
Okay.
take a look at what you're
Yeah.
buying.
The math is
And
not mathing. It's what
yeah,
Bank of America said. Like
yes, yes.
this is
Oh
not
my
good.
goodness. So yeah,
Yeah,
but I really want to see, I think we should continue to follow the story along the way,
sure.
because it is definitely fascinating to me, um, to see how this all works. What is what is happening? Warner Brothers, this iconic studio, is just falling and sinking.
I-
Why?
Imploding.
Yeah, yeah, and in many ways, Disney is doing the same thing too, except
Mhm.
for they're not getting ousted,
Yeah,
outed like.
the funny thing with Disney, because at the end of the day, it is about winning the headlines as well too. Because Disney, I'm sure they have just as much debt, um, and they've been striking out with Star Wars and things like that. But then you got Deadpool, Wolverine. Like, it probably ain't so bad, for Marvel, for
Mhm,
Disney.
mhm,
They
mhm,
rule the world right now. But
mhm.
Warner Brothers, since Barbie, I mean, have they really won the headlines? Like that. And so that's what Zaslav is dealing with.
No.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because it's very, very difficult because they don't have a whole lot. Dune did very well, right?
Mhm.
Dune
Yeah.
was their big thing. Um, and right now, House of Dragons, that's for the streaming.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
uh, Penguin,
That's coming out this fall.
is it coming out this fall?
Mhm.
I'm not sure if there's a whole bunch of hype behind it. Hardly hear anything about it.
Not really.
Um,
I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but I don't think it's not
mm,
House of Dragons type. It's not.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so yeah,
And
it's just with the constant. Warner Bros. Doesn't have like the constant, hits,
mm,
and that's what they have to kind of figure out. They still haven't figured out streaming yet, as well. Their stocks has fallen because again, the diminishing value of cable TV.
mm,
They're just saddled with too much stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, and it's not in capable hands. That's all I'm saying.
That's
And I think the film division, they're working on stuff. They got the Joker 2 coming out, which has
yeah,
a lot of hype.
yes,
Um, and so they're holding on, but it's not like they're releasing like 50, movies this week. They're
Right.
just like very conservative.
Yeah.
Um,
Because on one hand, you say Joker, and like I mentioned, Beetlejuice, but then Furiosa flops, right? And so,
mm,
and it's like with Warner Brothers films, this is their most successful arm of their company.
yeah,
They can't carry, it needs like a hit every quarter to carry all this. They can't
yeah,
do that. You know
and
what I
I
mean? And yeah,
and I think the thing is, I mean, because Furiosa is going to make a lot after the fact,
right.
after box office, obviously, but they are desperate for money now. So they they need the money up front. And so they're like,
Right. Like a
where are
little
you gonna
cash
get the
line.
money from? It's so I feel kind of bad for them, but also not because they have not been they haven't been doing right by creators. And so it's
Right.
hard for me to feel terribly upset about that, but also there's a lot of people who are gonna be out of work.
Yeah. Yeah. There's people
And
kind
that
of paying for the bad decisions.
the little people have to pay for that. But Zaslav got a huge raise this year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's almost like it's almost like Game of Thrones.
Probably.
The small people get the worst of it and all the
That's probably
nobles get
exactly what it is. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like you said, we're gonna definitely keep our eye on what happens. I mean, if they do split up the company, that's gonna be intriguing. I kind of hope they
Yes.
do. I hope they do split it up because that's going to be a lot of conversation.
Well, see, and the discovery part, they have so many like odd pieces that don't exactly go
Mhm.
with Warner Brothers,
Yeah,
the studio. So maybe they need to detach again.
yeah. That's what if they
Rem-
spin off
Detach
Film
the discovery.
Studio and Max, you spin off Discovery as a company,
Hmm.
and maybe Zaza will go with them. Who knows? Like he probably get out of this, which
Well,
he
yeah,
should.
yeah, sell that, and maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but maybe it needs to separate again.
yeah. Just a spin off, just for tax reasons and things like that. So Discovery be its own entity again. Over there.
Yeah.
Again, Film and Max, and then all this other stuff that you're still trying to figure out. Um, Maybe you merge that with something. It'll be very interesting, how
Yeah.
all this will spin out. So we
It's
we
it's a roller coaster
will
following this
keep,
for the last, like, 3,
yeah,
4 years. My god.
yeah, we'll definitely keep our eye on it, and I'm sure Retro, when if an article pops up, she'll bring it up for sure.
Yes, I will.
Uh, you know,
I'll keep my eyes out for some whatever they report.
for sure, for sure. So interesting stuff. As we close this one out this week, very good topics as usual. You mentioned a certain watch party coming up.
Yes, on Saturdays, I usually do a watch party. So, this week I'm doing Young Sherlock Holmes, and that's just a weird coincidence we're
Is
talking about one.
it?
Uh,
Is it really coincidence?
Trust me, it is. And it is, it's like one of my favorite movies. It's surprisingly good. So there's that. And of course, it is always my pleasure to join you on this channel. So guys, you can definitely come over and subscribe to my channel, but make sure if you're not subscribed to Sil, you should be.
Definitely
On his
appreciate that, and definitely Retro's channel in the description as well.
yeah.
Check out that retro talk and
Mhm.
catch her over here for the modern day talk as well,
Yeah,
and into the future. We're looking to the future of Warner Brothers breaking up and all kinds of stuff. It's
I know, 'cause
exciting.
it's so fascinating because all this stuff is gonna eventually go into the retro one day.
Hey, there we
And
go.
I'll
There
be
we
like,
go.
"I was there when that
Full
happened."
circle. Full circle there. That's cool. That's cool. Well, but definitely appreciate y'all watching. I am Sylabdul, joined by Retro Nerd once again. We'll catch y'all next time.